So I'd like to call this regular meeting of council to order on October 5th, 2021 at 7:06 p.m. Please stay seated for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to the mayor's address. As we gather this evening, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of council and their community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. On September 23rd, 2021, I attended the Shaw Works Outdoor Education Center annual general meeting where the new all-terrain mountain trike was unveiled. This was an exciting moment for the Shaw Works Board of Directors as they now have the capability to provide people with mobility limitations the ability to travel and enjoy some of the trails. On September 30th, 2021, I was invited to meet the individual who was the first person to book the mountain trike. The individual from Deep River read the article in Meeting the Leader and called to book the trike. Just a reminder to all of council of the open house on October 6th, which is tomorrow, for our new Public Works garage in Golden Lake and renovated fire hall. The open house is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and I should mention the ribbon cutting is at 11 a.m. and all of council is encouraged to attend. The week of October 4th to October 8th, 2021 is Fire Prevention Week in the province. This is a reminder to check and or replace your smoke and CO2 alarm batteries. Joe Hemlin, our fire prevention officer, will provide information handouts for visitors who attend the open house on October 6, 2021. I'd like to thank all the residents who showed their support by wearing orange on September 30th, 2021, our first day of national recognition for truth and reconciliation. On behalf of staff and council, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving weekend. This concludes my mayor's address. I have a resolution that the October 5th, 2021 mayor's address be accepted as presented. I'm going to move in a second. Moved by Councillor Reichel-Schoenfeld, seconded by Councillor Burnt. Councillor Burnt?
Yes.
Councillor Buckwald?
Yes.
Councillor Robinson?
Yes.
Councillor Reichel-Schoenfeld?
Yes.
And yes. Thank you. Item 5 is the adoption of the minutes. I have a resolution that the September 21st, 2021 regular council minutes be accepted as presented. And I got to move in a second, please. Moved by Councillor Buckwell, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Any omissions, corrections, or additions? Seeing none, Councillor Burns.
Yes.
Councillor Buckwell.
Yes.
Councillor Robinson.
Yes.
Councillor Reichel-Schoenfeld.
Yes.
I mean, yes, that's carried. Thank you. We have no delegations tonight, so we move to reports. Item 7.1 is the Public Works report. I have a resolution that the council accepts the Public Works report as presented. And I'm going to move in a second. Moved by Councillor Buckwell, seconded by Councillor Burnt. Comments or questions? Seeing none, Councillor Burnt.
Yes.
Councillor Buckwell.
Yes.
Councillor Robinson.
Yes.
Councillor Reichel-Schoenfeld.
Yes.
Yes. Carried. Thank you. Item 7.2 is the fire department report. I have a resolution that council accepts the fire department update as presented. And I got to move in a second, please. Moved by Councillor Burns, seconded by Councillor Champo. Comments or questions?
Just one comment. It's great that they received that $5,300 grant from the fire marshal for training. And I'm just wondering if there was any feedback, because whenever they shut the fire college down, I wonder how that's going, like with getting trained not at the fire.
With COVID, everything is still as far as what's in that from the same person.
Right. It's still great that they got that.
A little bit helps, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Call for Councillor Burns.
Yes.
Councillor Buckle.
Yes.
Councillor Robinson.
Yes.
Councillor Champo.
Yes.
And a yes. Carried. Thank you. Item 7.3 is the CBO report. We have a resolution that council accepts the CBO report as presented. Moved by Councillor Schoenfeld, seconded by Councillor Buckle. Comments or questions?
I just had one question. When I looked at the permit reports in May, there was a installation for sewer system on 106 Righty Road, and then when I went to August, it was the same thing. So I wonder why it was in there twice. That's all. Because in the August one, it had the permit and it was 73/21. And then when I went to the permit fee in May, it was kind of a different format. It looks like 04, looks like 049/21. So I just wondered why that might be. Okay, so just say it was the May one and the August one. Thank you. But it is good to see buildings up. That's it.
It certainly is, and I want to commend staff on putting that summary at the bottom on where we are to date compared to 2020, because we're almost at the end of this month at 2020 levels, so or I should say at the end of September. So yeah, it's nice to see that there's construction happening in our municipality.
Jill has joined, and she can ask questions.
Okay, sure, yes. Jill, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. So the first permit for the Reiki Road address, the contractor couldn't fulfill their duties in the time frame that was allotted, so they got a different contractor. That's why there's two different permits, and we're just waiting for the first contractor to contact us to get their money back.
Okay. I was trying to figure out what the money thing was. Okay, thanks, Jill.
Any other questions? Why do we have Jill on the meeting?
I do have a bylaw question, but that's in the next report.
Okay, well, stay with us, Jill. So I'll call a vote for the CBO report. Councillor Burns.
Yes.
Councillor Buckle.
Yes.
Councillor Robinson.
Yes.
Councillor Schoenfeld.
Yes.
And a yes, that's carried. Thank you. And 7.4 is the bylaw enforcement report. And the resolution that council accepts the bylaw enforcement report is presented. And I'm going to move in a second, moved by Councillor Schoenfeld, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Questions, Councillor Schoenfeld?
Can you explain what is a weekly data report, which now includes a section on proof of vaccination enforcement? Who do you do that with?
So it's the provincial report, and I guess certain municipalities, they're asking for their bylaw officers to ticket people or go around and make sure that like at restaurants, their patrons are showing their vaccinations and stuff. We're not doing that, but it's there for other communities that are.
Okay, and also, do you have any idea what other townships do that don't have a bylaw officer, how they report the information to the government about
So-
COVID?
The OPP or their police force would be filling out the exact same reports.
Okay, all right, thanks, Ms. Emma.
No problem.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, Councilor Burnt,
Yes.
Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Renfro-Schonfeld,
Yes,
and yes, it's carried, thank you. Item 7.5 is the SPCC report. I have a resolution that council accepts the report on the Strategic Planning and Coordination Committee and directs the CAO to move forward with advertising for committee members. And I'm gonna move in a second. Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Burnt. Comments and questions? Councilor Renfro-Schonfeld.
I'm just wondering why, 2 non-voting township staff and then 2 council members, I'm just wondering, and then I'm wondering also, the 2 non-voting township staff members, are they volunteering their time or is that in lieu time? And last but not least, One Wilkins Trail Committee, I thought we were like having a hub or something where we were doing something up at Beacon, Wilkins Trail, and then Melissa Bishop and Shaw Woods. I'm just wondering why we couldn't have like a hub committee person as opposed to just a Wilkins Trail.
So that's not on the report, like a question. That we have a committee for the open trail.
Oh, I was just reading on that. The strategic planning, and then when you flick the next piece of paper, that's what is there.
Okay, maybe we're gonna have to report.
Do you not have that? Am I the only person that has that? Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
So you're looking at the last paragraph.
Yeah.
And the question regarding the open trail committee.
Yeah, well, first of all, like, why we think we need 2 members of council on it, and then the second is the non-voting township staff, are they volunteering their time, or is that just in, they're gonna have like a lead time? And then I was wondering about why the Wilkins Trail Committee.
Okay, I can answer all those questions. So the first question with regard to council is usually you like to have 2 council members on a committee, and they both have value, but if one's missing, you always have
Okay.
a person on. In regards to staff work as staff, and so there would be a paid position. In regards to the Wilton Trail Committee, because of what you were saying about the hub, it's important that that committee be involved in other things that go on within the township to be able to connect everything together, similar to the recreation committee. So it was more about being inclusive of all the things we're currently doing.
And why do you think you need 2 non-voting township staff member if we're gonna pay them to serve on that committee?
Exactly the same reason as council. Just to be able to make sure that we have someone done.
So one of the, just for clarification, one of the non-voting township staff would certainly be there to take minutes.
We would take minutes, but also add values to things that are going on in relation to projects.
Right. I think it's a good idea because there's a lot of stuff that certainly has been evolving in our municipality. And I know staff is working on getting some of it done and pulling it all together. I know the Wilkins Trail and the connections with the trails such as Beacon Bridge and Melissa Bishop Park, that's all moving forward, which is great to have. And I think it's important that this, just as you were saying, that there is a voice at the overall strategic development moving forward so that we get the input from the various committees that are currently in place. Councilor Robinson.
So, then I understand this is gonna be sort of an ongoing.
I believe it will.
This would be a committee of council, this would be a permanent committee.
Any other comments or questions?
Did we talk about the hub? Like, could it be a committee member from the hub, which might be still the Wilkins Trail person?
So right now, the only committee that we have that's working with that would be the trail committee, so there's no public committee.
Because I'm just thinking too, the recreation committee, I mean, it very well could be included in here because that could be linked into some of our strategic plans, and I don't see that committee being mentioned.
The recreation
It's on there.
Where?
Right above
Just
Joe's
about
background.
Wilkins.
Oh, yeah, okay, now I see. I guess I put my big circle. in circle. Okay. My mistake.
Councilor Fletcher.
I think it's a good breakdown of the different demographics and the different interests areas within the municipality. So I think that's a good split. And there's always the possibility that we may not get someone from every group, so you may have someone that does fill two demographics at once. It's going to depend on the interest and the applicants that we get. So I think that's a good framework to start with on the slide.
So would there be an ad going out in the paper and posted on the website looking for community members?
Correct.
Okay, any further comments, questions? Seeing none, Councilor Burns,
Yeah.
Councilor Buckle,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Ricky Schonfeld,
Yes.
and a yes, it's carried, thank you. Item 7.6 is the SPCA, to have a resolution that council accepts the animal pound report as presented and provides direction to staff. So they're going to move in a second. Moved by Councilor Buckle, seconded by Councilor Burns. Comments or questions? Maybe can we bring the report up, please? So what I like about this change would be that we only pay for the service when we actually use it, as opposed to paying a yearly fee, even if it's not used. So I think it's a good move in the right direction and saves our residents money.
Did we not vote on our last budget though to purchase a $25,000 trailer?
Maybe I'll let staff speak to that.
So that's true, and it's in the report. So basically, what you would be doing is you'd be saving $25,000 in capital money. And that $4,000 a year that you pay to Lone Share Valley, and you'd be paying a different fee of just a cost per dog, which is $375. So you would not be spending the $25,000 capital. And given the history that we have of very few dogs, you'd be saving considerably on the operations too.
But I mean, like, I thought when we approved the budget in the spring, or in the early spring, that, you know, somehow we already had like already had the trailer, whatever we were gonna do. And I also thought we'd opted out of not being in with Lone Shore Valley at all. Like for this coming year, but it appears that we are paying for this year.
So when we do things, and then certainly on that, we have to pay as long as we need the service. In regards to the trailer, our inquiry of the trailer, it was going to be a 2-year delivery time to do the trailer. So it hasn't been our top priority, and it looks like it's a benefit to found out that we have it.
So the way it would work is if a resident saw a dog wandering, right? Are they gonna call the SPCA, or are they gonna call the bylaw officer who calls the SPCA, or how do you see that working?
So, the resident would call the bylaw officer, they would, the bylaw officer would pick up the dog and they would take it to the CA camp.
Okay, and so in that case, then do we have to equip the bylaw officer with some kind of equipment, like one of those nooses I've seen, or a big kennel or something?
So in the original setup for the bylaw officer, those capital or minor capital purchases were reflected in the setup. So yes, we would buy necessary equipment and it has a budget.
So the service with bunch of that, we haven't used our own this year.
After taking the dog to their county this year.
Councilor Robinson.
Considering they're still paying that, and I know that it's the term to the agreement, when did this agreement stop? If we started?
We would get confirmation from the SPCA that we have the service with the agreement. As soon as that happens, we would send a letter.
When I was reading the contract, it had, well, I don't know, like the dates were in that fluorescent green, was those just thrown in dates? Like it says December 2024, do we have to lock ourselves into December 2024, or could we lock ourselves into December of 2022 or 2023? Do you know, is that something the SPCA wanted?
So this was the draft that they gave us.
It was right at it was the second last page, public liability, 2 million, property damage, 25,000, both parties agreed, 3.0, that's it right there. So I was just wondering, like, is that like 2024, is that negotiable? Like, can we like actually see if it's gonna be okay or something crazy happens?
That's one detail we can confirm, but if there's also a 60-day written notice from the engagement.
Right.
Regardless of the date that we put it, we still have a 60-day exit. Councilor Robinson.
No, actually, that's going to be my note.
Any further questions? Seeing none, Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Buffalo,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez.
Yes.
And that's carried, thank you. Item 7.7 is the project's update. We have a resolution of council accepts the report and authorizes the CAO to hire a 3-month contract special project coordinator to drive and administer assigned projects. And I'm going to move in a second, moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Burns. And can we bring up that report, please? So this, I'm gathering, will be an extension of the committee we just spoke about, and that this person would actually lead these projects so that we keep the momentum going that we've currently started, and that they don't get lost because of lack of staff time to stay on top of them.
That's correct. So there's 2 separate reports. One is on the committee itself and one is on hiring a coordinator. When you put the 2 reports together, it would make sense that person, right?
Any idea of the cost? Like, I mean, they said for 3 months, any idea of what that cost would be with that person?
I would suggest that first we have to put things together. But the cost would not exceed, you know, what the CA would have based on my salary and how we cover that cost. So I suggested 3 months, so we get through to the end of the year. Council may look at the possibility of going 6 months. Just that would increase the field of people that would accept the job.
And that was going to be sort of one of the concerns. Like 3 months seems to be very short in fulfilling some of the requirements that we have. The other thing when I asked about the time span on the itself, if you're going to have somebody who's going to sit on that committee, it sort of doesn't make sense that they're going to be there just short term. Because one of the reasons behind having 2 people is for continuity. And you're losing it just by having somebody there for 3 months.
Councillor Buckle.
Yeah, I understand the rationale going with 3 months to make it short term as a trial, but in 3 months, we're not going to have enough information as to whether or not they've been productive or made any progress because of the nature of the projects. Some of them, yes, are immediate, but some of them take more time than that just to implement. And then we'll wind up right at that point where, okay, things are now having been done, and we have to reappoint that person or find someone new. So I think 3 months is kind of short. I'm also concerned that trying to get a qualified applicant to take it seriously for such a short-term assignment, when we know that this is going to be, we have ongoing projects, right, lots of opportunities. So we have the longer term needs. I think we need to look at this longer term. So I would say a minimum of 6 months and a year, I think might be more realistic.
I guess I'm concerned about the cost, and I know Mr. Scott talked about the fact that he's reduced his workload. We also realized when we were doing budgeting, the whole idea was there was going to be a financial impact, and it was going to mean that we should kind of have surplus salaries. But now it appears that that's not going to happen, right? And like I agree with the fact, like 3 months, that could be like 3 meetings of 1 month, that 1 meeting a month. Really, what are you going to get done in 3? So I agree, it should be longer. But on the other hand, it's like, what about the cost and the efficiencies we're trying to do? You know, and maybe we did not more than we can chew. We did, like in the summertime, the office was closed on Wednesdays so that they could get more stuff done. Do we look at something like that? Like you said, who are we going to get to be qualified that knows a lot about, like the snowdrifters issue that's going on, the Wilkinson Trail issue that's going on. It's going to take them a couple months to get their feet wet and understand what's going on. And then all of a sudden, like you said, short-term contract, you're going to get people that are really qualified. Long-term contract, we're looking at a year plus, because just like you said, Maria, if it's going to be a ongoing committee of council, it's like somebody that should be there for a long time. And so how do we balance all of those things, you know, and make that committee really, really work, right? And I mean, do we use some of our efficiency monies that we haven't used before? Do we table this and try and figure out what's going on and maybe concentrate on one of those? I don't know, like you have to do a really good job. Just doing it is maybe not really what we want, right? And I think that's something we really have to think about. Because I agree, 3 months, like recreation committee met once a month, right? You know, and then you didn't meet in the summertime, you took other time off. So I mean, and now we're expecting somebody to tie all this stuff in. I think it's just going to be a very, very daunting task for whoever decides to take it on.
Councillor Robinson, back to you, Councillor.
The other thing that I asked about in the past was an economic development, which this sort of quasi falls within that framework. I don't think we ever even sort of investigated what that would cost, and I think we need to look at some of the different conversations that we've had about staffing, about, Councillor Chantal talked about efficiencies. It may well be that we're going to go through the efficiency part of it. It saves some monies that is within that grant that we have, we directed towards that. And not make it 3 months, but make it a year, because we're going into an election period where at some point we're not going to be able to make some of these decisions. Who are we going to hire and what are we going to do? If we want to accomplish these things within the time frame that we need to be, just be a little bit more firm with it and not try to do the make do's. It's either we can do it or we don't do it.
Council Buckle.
And I agree with that. I think my question, and I guess I direct this at, how many hours a week were you envisioning this someone for this function?
So we would envision that this would be a 35-hour week. And just to make the distinction clear to council, there's operations and the capital, and those are the things that staff do. These are special projects that are beyond what staff would normally do. So it's we take on a lot of things, but when we take on special things, we don't have the competent staff to do that. And that's why we recommend that we have a project coordinator. These projects will be very difficult to accomplish with the staff complement that you have.
Yeah, and what I'm looking at is with the projects that we do have potentially coming online over the next year. Yeah, they've got to be done, and they've got to be done properly. So yeah, you're going to need somebody that's going to have the time to focus on those as their primary focus, and not something that's thrown in between dealing with other things in the office. I think this is an opportunity for us to move forward. And again, if for the first year it is, say, a project coordinator and get some of these projects online, well, maybe that same individual then, having more background in our operation, transitions into that economic development role. Or as some of these projects start weaning off, they have more time to get economic development. So I think it's something we don't want to put off, because what we do have coming down the pipe. It just comes down to, are we willing to fund it with the savings from our CAO, not being able to full time?
Yeah, second.
So just to touch on the economic development, what this person's position is and what the committee that we've been talking about is implementing and pushing your strategic plan, which is also your whole economic development plan. So it is economic development because it's your whole picture. And that's what this person is doing, is getting those, driving those projects that are part of your strategic plan.
But I think the fundamental issue, it's not just taking the savings from CEO's salary. It's just making sure that, everything else that is being thrown at we have to fund. Because we tend to seem to have a little week here and week there, and when it comes from the budget. So what I'm saying is that if this is what we're going to do, then let's be firm with it. I'm not saying we're squeezing money from here or there, because do we use some of the efficiency monies that we have? So that's the issue that I have, is that we're trying to always say, let's take a little bit from here.
So what staff presented was a solution within your 2021 budget. The council will have to make the decision if you want to go beyond the 3 months. Is council will have to allocate those funds. So your question, for council, staff have provided with the way of doing it to the end of the year. Is council willing to take the step to allocate those funds for your 2022 budget?
And I would say when I see Snowbreaker's acquisition, to me, it's more than the acquisition part of it. It's how are we going to utilize the Snowbreakers? I mean, the person's not going to stop working on Snowbreakers as soon as the paperwork's signed, right? It's all about trying to make that into like an exciting hub of some sort, right? I guess when I just look at it, it's like, I don't know, I'm having a hard time wrapping myself around that. You know, and how we're gonna pay for that person and how that's actually gonna work. Like, you know, I wish we were talking about this in January when we're doing budget deliberations, because we might say, hey, we're not gonna buy X. We've decided, and that's what some municipalities do. If the economic officer is a very important part and we only have so much money, then we don't do these things here because we need those monies to finance that person, right? And so that's where I'm not seeing it right now, because it's like, it's nearly like, I guess I'm just having a hard time grasping the big picture, how we're gonna pay for this person after. And like, do we have them on a contract? And if they're not performing up to our thoughts, then we're just gonna leave them go. Like, what if we hire somebody and they're not doing what we're asking them to do? And then the office staff is pulling out their hair because, you know, they're still having to go and do that stuff.
And that type of thing, we can put into contracts, right? So that there is a performance capability in there. I'm not as concerned about that being an issue as I'm concerned with the opportunities that are there. And yes, I regularly think for an election year, and I know that it's going to take a lot of courage to do a working budget as opposed to a getting reelected budget. And I think that's something that we have to make a decision on. Are we prepared to keep doing business with the municipality even in election year?
Oh, yeah, that's right. But my problem is like, how do we pay for a person that we really never budgeted on before? You know, and the other thing too is if we couldn't have done these projects, then we shouldn't have then entered into them. You know, like if we didn't have the people to support us. So we'll just.
Well, I've listened to and some very, very good comments. What I think we have to keep a focus on though is that this is really the spearhead for our economic development. And when you talk about funding the person, if these projects can move forward with the momentum that we've already generated, then the development that follows will also fund that position, because it's going to help our municipalities grow. And the more partners we engage with also spurs on that growth. And I think sometimes you have to, yes, there's risk, absolutely, but sometimes you have to be willing to take that risk, because we know going forward, the only monies that come into our township are through taxes, through grants, and through user fees. So, and development, that's the other area. So, I mean, we know that it's important that we have that increased tax base to help offset some of our other expenses. And that's where I think it's important to say that we don't have the staff to do this, so we're not going to do it. Then we're spinning our wheels and we're back to where we were, and are we ever going to grow as a municipality? Yes, that's what I was.
Actually, you touched on a really good point. It's sources of income. In part of grants, I presume that as we consider we're moving forward, and I think that I agree that there's a need for that. With this person, the big question for CAO would be able to discover or research for grants that would make some of these projects more viable and more, community development oriented.
So with regards to economic development officer or this position we're talking about, part of their measurement of the staff is the development that they do bring in. And that's where you lay your money, or bring in, bring a bigger pile than they have. We're providing a service that the municipality didn't have before, may not be measured by money, maybe that, we have recreation for 3,000 people that we didn't have before. So those measurables. In regards to grants, what we put on the report were projects, special projects that we presently are having, challenges doing, and certainly when we start these projects, you have the every day of the week, and even happens in the week. So it wasn't a planned event to have me, that's time. But, part of that is going to be your measurement of what you're bringing in. And if you want to make this person, and they would seek out funding for those three things they're doing now, you want them to be looking at grant writing and grant funding opportunities for everything. That's certainly something you can put into the job description, that part.
Well, that's good, because I see it could evolve into economic development, grant writing, all of those things that certainly staff does their best to stay ahead of, but that's something that takes additional time that they have to try and squeeze into their already busy day. That's a lot.
My suggestion would be, by the time we hire somebody, we're into October now. It's probably not, we're about to be hired for January, I would suspect.
I would suggest that we could hire before January and before the end of November, we've got someone in place.
So if we assume that we have somebody in place by January 1st, 12-month contract, we'll take them through the year, it'll take them through the next election, so they can continue functioning through the election period. And the next council can decide after that, the following year, if they want to compete, but that's not so long, it's on the individual. But I think we need to make a commitment to the projects that we started. And the advantage of things, some of the things that we've seen, we had pictures, seen some of the stuff 4 years ago.
Absolutely not.
So I think we have an opportunity to show that we can keep moving forward. Yes, it's going to require an investment, but what can the payback be? Like when you start looking at quality of life things, so like you've got the Wilkins Trail, factor deacon into that and the other things. For this area, those are novel ideas. Right? And to put those together and get that active transportation and that recreation for a small community that really doesn't have facilities to do a whole lot. That invites people. Like if you take a look how many places, farmers have you seen for sale in the township that haven't sold? People want to come here. And the more attractive we can make it, the more people want to come here. And not just buy up places, but build. And that's development. And that's good for the township in so many ways. I have seen concerns about the fiscal end of it. I think if we invest in it, and it is an investment, it's not an expense. It's an investment in moving the township forward. I think we should do it.
See, I agree with everything you're saying, Councilor Buckle, but I guess my problem is, I don't know how far along we are at the Snowdrifters acquisition and the Wilkins Trail, like what else has to be completed and what was our vision for the community and after pub. So like, we got the person working 35 hours a week, maybe make it completed in a short period of time. Like to me, the scope has to be like different. Like, is it, if it's just about, I don't know what the lawyers are saying in terms of the Snowdrifters acquisition, how close are we to making that a happening thing, right? But then is it more that we want that person to do? It's not, it's more about the acquisition. It's how we're going to utilize it, what they see, are we going to have this, that, and the other thing. The Wilkins Trail, like I heard that the gazebo's up and that kind of thing, but how far are we away from completing the Wilkins Trail? Yeah, and the environmental report, but what else are we envisioning that to be, right? Now, the community hub, I can see that, how we're making that through active transport. But like, to me, it's like, is the focus just completion of that trail and completion of the Snowdrifters acquisition? Like, to me, when I read that, that's nearly what it is. But I think when we're talking around the table, it's much bigger than that, And I think that's an important thing to consider. And so that's why I guess I'm confused, because it seems like, we're reading something, but we're all thinking bigger, right? And then to me, it's still that fiscal responsibility, and to me, that's a big one. And, I'd rather say, yeah, the snow drifters, that's done, the wilderness trail is done. Then when we do our budgeting next year, then we say, what's really important to us is to have an economic development officer. What is a good one worth? Yes, we know how to get this much money in. Yes, okay, we think a good one is worth this. Where are we gonna get that extra money from? Okay, we're not gonna do this project and that project because we are saying this is important and we want those projects now that, Wilderness Trail is completed and we're moving forward. I don't know, that is my feelings right now. I don't personally support this. I do support an economic development officer. And that's something I think we think about it next budget time. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We'll vote on it and move forward.
Council Buckle?
And I understand that, but I think the thing that I don't think is necessarily getting across is, this is economic development. This is the practical end of it. Economic development is more than just going and talking to businesses and more than advertising. It's actually providing something that the community wants, something that makes the community attractive and inviting. So this is economic development. All right, we can call it a special projects coordinator. We can call it an economic development person, and who's developing our economy through improving these projects. Right? It's named at the end of the day, they're both doing the same thing. They're both benefiting the municipality. And once those projects are done, if they have more time to transition into something that's more traditional economic development, we have the person on staff, we can put it into their job description. Other duties as required by council. That's a great catch-all to put on the end of the job description.
Yeah, but as a person, if reading that, I'm thinking I don't want to do that.
But again, you need somebody that's qualified. And I think if you make it clear in the job description that these potential things we're looking for, you also open up to people that, they may not want to be a projects coordinator, but if they know there's that other end into it that they're more interested in, but they'll have the time to do the project management, that's another option.
We could call it a economic development / project coordinator, / economic development. I mean, we can make it more encompassing in as you say in the job description. That might give us access to a broader range of applicants as well. Councilor Burke.
I see the really good move for the township moving forward with it. There's not a lot of people who want to move to this area. We have to move forward.
Well,
Now,
we just saw in our chief building official report that there is more construction definitely this year than there ever be. Yes,
Just to add, and with the conversations and the reason this report is coming forward, the report is coming forward because from a staff perspective, we don't have the facilities or the staffing to build the duties of these projects right now. It's not 3 months from now. It's right now you have me working here 50 hours a week. It's the ability to do these without them falling off the table. So if council chooses to do these projects, then without bringing somebody else in, then we have to choose to do other things, not do it. That's where we are right now to get these through. The reason I use subject to acquisition is because that's what council discussed. Council has bigger plans for that, but that's what's been discussed in the public agenda.
okay, well, that's been a great discussion. I'm going to call the vote. Councilor Burke.
can you bring back up the resolution?
The resolution said that council accepts the report and authorizes the CAO to hire a 3-month contract special projects coordinator to drive and administer assigned projects.
Recommend to change to 6.
Well, I would say 6 with an opportunity to extend it.
Again, I'm concerned that 6 isn't necessarily going to attract people with skill set that we want. 6-month runs, if you start figuring January, 6-month runs to the end of June,
Yeah,
which is a time when there could be potentially a lot of stuff happening. 9 months puts you into election time, which is only as long as 12. My thought would be 12 months.
So are you making that a motion to amend to?
Friendly amendment?
I just had a question for Andrew. If we make this a 1-year contract, could we, like a 4-day week instead of a full week for the person you hire to help?
It comes into how many hours do you want to allot to that? You may not attract, a person if you're going to offer 4 days as opposed to 5 days. I would suggest that we look at it as a full-time position. But the council could say 4 days, if the council desires.
Oh, sort of, get somebody retired or semi-retired that wants to work part-time, not full-time.
Well, you did say 35 hours a week, right? That's what it was, 35 hours a week to me. When that person attends the meeting of the committee, he's gonna count those hours as part, he's not gonna volunteer this time, so like to me, 35 hours a week, he's got a pay thing that he's gonna, or payroll, you know what I mean? One day, he may work 12 hours, right? As long as in the end, he's getting 35 hours a week.
Yeah, because it can be flexible schedule.
Yeah.
So
That's fine.
if you just put in that the person will be full-time up to 35 hours per week, and then it does give you some flexible, if you find that we can do it in 4 days in person to do it, then it allows us to go down.
Okay.
Okay, but I have a motion that's already been moved and seconded. So we've got to deal with this one first. Do we vote to amend it, or do we
So you've already amended it to the 6 or the 12?
to the 12? Well, I need a seconder. It's been moved by Councilor Buckle, and somebody seconded by Councilor Robinson to amend to 12 months. All in favor? Oh, that's carried. Okay, so now we have to vote.
You have to vote, and I think the council made it clear as to the 35 hours, up to 35 hours, and I don't think I need a resolution for that.
Okay. So then I'll call for the vote on this motion where it's 12-month contract. Councilor Burt,
Yes.
Councilor Buckle,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Junko,
No,
and yes. That's very good. So item 7.8, I'm just trying to find the rest of my agenda. I'm going to go to 7.7. 7.8 is the financial update. I have a resolution that council accepts the report as presented. And I got to move in a second, moved by Councilor Buckwell, seconded by Councilor Robinson. Comments or questions? Seeing none, Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Junko,
yes,
and yes. Carried. Thank you. Item 7.9 is the Township Union Public Library report. I have a resolution that council accepts the September 2021 library and CEO reports as presented. And I'm going to move in second. Moved by Councilor Junko, seconded by Councilor Buckler. Comments or questions? Seeing none, Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Buckle,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Junko.
yes,
Very good. And 9.1 is the non-action items. I have a resolution that council accepts the non-action correspondence items 9.1.1 to 9.1.5 as information. And then move in the second, please. Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Buckley. Comments or questions? Councilor Richardson.
Just a comment in the news, it talked about free trees in Lander County, and it talked about a fall giveaway where you could get species like red pine, white pine, and I guess they're doing a Lander County tree giveaway as part of the 1 million tree program in the partnership of Rio Valley Conservation Authority. It would be, I mean, I would like us to be able to give away trees. So, I mean, it appears that perhaps some of our stewardship money, or that was one of our strategic plan thing, was the environment. So something like this, and we did have a major tree discussion before. Something like this, I think, would be a great community, and I think it would also show people that the township is here.
So, yes,
So maybe direction to staff, to get back to report on trees, just in the next council meeting, so. That council will report that.
And they do talk about, so maybe if we just touch base with the landmark, they'd be able to give us some information.
yeah, staff could do a report, because I just also read today from FCN that there's a tree grant available again through FCN, so.
We'll bring information back in the
Thank
next.
you.
Thank you.
So I'll call the vote, Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Richardson,
Yes.
and yes. Okay. Item 9.2.1 is the Trent Lake. Whereas the Township of North Algona Wilberforce received correspondence from the municipality of Trent Lake in regards to OHIP eye care. Be it further resolved that the Township of North Algona Wilberforce supports their correspondence. And be it further resolved that this resolution be sent to Premier Ford, Ontario Minister of Health Christine Elliott, MPP John Yakubowski, and the Ontario Association of Optometrists. And I got a move in a second, moved by Councilor Byrd, seconded by Councilor Buckley. Comments or questions? Seeing none, Councilor Byrd,
Yes.
Councilor Buckley,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Richardson,
Yes.
and yes, carried. Good. And 9.2.2 is the mental health and addiction crisis and support services. I have a resolution that staff requests the Phoenix Center mental health and addiction resource cards be made available at the office, and to advertise availability of the cards through all the township social media. Moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Buckwell. Comments or questions? Councilor Richardson.
Is there a place on our homepage where we could display those two charts? So it would be something there that would be ongoing for anybody that, I don't know, like important numbers to have, because some of them are really good, and in a time of crisis, sometimes it's difficult to find them, but if you knew that this was a place you could go, like important numbers of the township, but I mean, like, some of them are very valuable. And if they're there, I mean, it's nice giving out the cards, because you tend to lose the cards sometimes, but if it was there as a permanent thing on our website. Just a thought.
Is that, I don't see that as
Yes,
being possible. Okay.
Thank you.
I know some municipalities are sending out tax bills, so people have that reference right on their fridge or wherever they want to keep it.
Good idea.
And I do believe that the Phoenix Center is making a lot of extra copies, so that if municipalities need more, then they can available. I'll call the vote. Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Richardson.
Yes.
Carried. Thank you. So then we're into bylaws. Now therefore, the Council of North Algona Wilberforce enact the following bylaws. Bylaw 2021-58B, the bylaw to appoint deputy clerk, and bylaw 2021-59B, the bylaw to appoint a deputy treasurer. And we're going to move it to second. Moved by Councilor Schoenfeld, seconded by Councilor Burns. Councilor Burns. Councilor Burns.
No.
Yes.
Councilor Buckles.
Yes.
Councilor Robinson.
Yes.
Councilor Reggie Pilcrow.
Yes,
And yes. Okay. Are there any matters of urgency? Notices of motion. Reports from committees. So unfinished business, we have the resident communications. I have a resolution that council accepts the report as presented and authorizes the CEO to proceed with the purchase of AllNet Connect at a cost of $3,995. So we'll move in a second, moved by Councilor Buckle, seconded by Councilor Burke. Comments or questions? Seeing none, Councilor Burns,
Yes.
Councilor Buckle,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Reggie Pilcrow.
no,
Yes, that's carried. Thank you. Item 14.2 is the agricultural plastic. We have a resolution that council accepts the disposal of agricultural plastic report as presented. And that township transfer sites no longer accepts agriculture plastic waste. Seconded. Moved by Councilor Buckle, seconded by Councilor Burns. Comments? Questions?
so how much did it actually cost us last fiscal year? Because it said we had requested year-to-date cost, number of bins shipped, and fees and charges.
And so, yes, so this was the information that they provided to us. So if a resident brings the agricultural plastic directly to the center, then they are charged for it. The center did mention that they had received a few quotes from us. However, they weren't of the quality that could be recycled. So we paid $95 per ton.
Right,
Like they didn't have an actual value, but
you just go down 5 times that. So it says they only received 6.8 tons of agricultural plastic, right, from
This year.
North Algona, and it would have been charged at the $95, right?
it was, yes, so.
So if we say it was the dirty rock, right?
Mhm.
So really 95 times 0.68 isn't really a lot of money.
Not for the, you know,
But any idea then what it cost us to take it there?
not off the top of my head.
But let's just say, I'm using my calculator as a go business tool. So if it was 0.68 tons times $95, that would be the top, because if it was rejected. Okay,
So it's less than $95.
that's right. So, I mean, in the end, I don't think it's that much money. Even if it was $100 to take it back. Because the 0.68 tons, would that have been like, I don't know what you get in a big thing. You know what you get in?
20-yard bin.
So would you get like a ton more?
It depends on the bale wrap, but it depends on how much water is sitting in the bale wrap. So what's out there right now is a third of a bin. And you're certainly going to be over at home on that.
I don't know, I guess from just my point of view, I mean, part of our strategic plan was stewardship, right? And some farmers are very good at managing and other farmers will say, I'm not taking it to the waste recovery because in our case, it's $50 a ton. I probably wouldn't take a ton there, but I'm still paying $50. Like, it's like when you take your landfill to the landfill, it's so much, but if you're underweight, it's not like they reduce the fee, it's just a blanket. That's right. So I guess my problem is, like, it's really not that much money in the grand scheme of things, but it's just one thing that we were doing and now we're not. And it's not something to me that's costing us a lot of money considering some of the other stuff. that
It's
we're doing.
2020, they only took them 10 times. And that only, there's only 1.25 tons from north of Algona Wilberforce, so it's not a lot of money.
No, yeah. That's what
It's just over $100.
However, the thing I think we need to remember, if you want to encourage better stewardship, if they have to take it to Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery, they will determine there whether it's contaminated or whether it can be recycled. If we just provide the bin here, they can bring anything they want, it can be contaminated, and they don't have to worry about it because they know that Township's gonna pay for it.
But we do have to also realize there's landfill attendants here, and if you're throwing plastics into the papers, cardboards, they're gonna tell you to do that. I know it said there has been some issues, but I mean, I'm just saying, even at $95 a ton, it's still not that much. But I mean, that's just my thoughts. I mean, we can say, yeah, that's fine, but I mean, to me, it's just something we have done before, and you're right, and maybe we have to educate the people putting the plastics in. I know when I used to bring plastic, they'd always say, there's no, and when I used to take it to the valley, before they charged us, where we would take our garbage at the station, they'd say, no twine, no twine, no bale wrap, but white plastic, you know, and that's all they were doing now. It would be interesting to know there if it was rejected because it's dirty. Like, I don't know how dirty the white wrap has to be for it to get come down.
It doesn't have to be very dirty, because I took some myself and asked that question. And they said it's pretty much, they don't want to see any mud or any hay or chaff. It's got to be clean, so technically it has to be stuff that's stored inside. And
Yeah, but that's just my opinion.
Dr. Buckwell, do you have a comment?
So, yeah, just actually a question. So how is the wrap managed here at Shawwood site?
So presently, the wrap goes into a roll-off bin, and when the bin is full, we would ask for it to be kept. Just amazingly today, I took a picture of the bin, and a blue wrap in there, point. I think we'll go back to Councilor Chantal. What is being suggested is that council accepts that with tipping fees and haulage fees, that you're probably investing $500 or $500 a year for a service to the resident. And I guess that's the decision that council has to make, whether you want to continue that service, which is probably costing you less than $500 a year, or.
That's about that.
So if it's accepted at Burnt Road, I'm assuming it just goes into the regular compactor. I don't believe it's separate bin for it.
There was one time. I'm not sure if it was-
I don't think we have anything really going for it at all. It's only, it only comes here.
It only comes here. Okay.
At one time, I did go to the road.
Yeah, so I'm just saying the only thing that's there now is the main recycling. That's really all that's there aside from the cardboard compactor and the garbage compactor. So it's only coming here. It's not a huge amount.
It's council's decision.
Like this year, we probably be taking the ton off or something this year.
That's all.
Point that Councilor Chantal made is that, and when she's made offerings, that we really do need to educate the residents before we start attracting services. So, and in this case, with, you know, I think that it's not a significant amount. But if we add the investment of educating or residents and do it with a timeline if we wish, do we consider it in so I don't think it would be a good thing to just kind of take it away at this point.
So we have signage there now that says white wrap only. Again.
Correct.
So we get blue and we get twine.
What's up with your color line?
I do have to say though, like, it is an education, and like, and I'm not saying that the landfill attendants have to like be watching everything that goes in, nor do they have to confront the person. That could be the bylaw officer or somebody else, like, you know, if we saw Janet putting in blue boat wrap, and that's probably what it's from, just say you can't do that, you're renting it for everybody else. It's like the people, when you go to the landfill, and you're taking tires there, and the sign says only tires, no tires and rims, right? And somebody throws a tire and a rim in there, like, there's unfortunately all these people that don't want to follow rules, it's just why we have jails and police officers. But that being, I mean, that being said, and we could even put something like that in our pamphlet that goes out with the tax bill saying, you know, and like, that goes to everybody, maybe the person that threw the blue rock in just didn't think it was a big deal. You know, and so we're not just touching the farmers with our little memo that we go out, we're touching lots of people. That's right.
I guess I'm just suggesting how much clearer can we make it for educating somebody when the sign says that white plastic only. What more can we do?
I mean, we can do.
Yeah,
like-
you have to watch people that take advantage of stuff. It happens everywhere. It's just stuff that they do.
Well, and to a certain extent, I was guilty of always putting batteries into the landfill. They're like little tiny batteries. I know, but I didn't really know. And also, then when I started to come here and I saw the little battery thing, and then when I talked to the ladies at the landfill site, they're like, that one fire could have been started by like a battery, and like, that was education on my part. Like, I'm like, oh, what's the big deal? It's only a battery, nobody's gonna know. Well, somebody educated me and now I don't do that anymore. You know, it's, I mean, it is what it is. I just think it's a service that we're trying to service everybody in the community, and then we're saying, yeah, for $500, we're not gonna service this. And if, as this counselor said, if we continue getting people that are dumping inappropriate things in the dump, well, there, you know, you had your chance, you lost it, messed it up for everybody.
Any further comments? So I'll call the vote. Council Bernard,
No.
Council Buckland,
No.
Council Robinson,
No.
Council Ricky Shankar.
No,
Yes, that's carried. Item 14,
Just a point of order. We all said no, you said it's carried.
well, I thought the no would be carried.
No, motion defeated.
Motion defeated. Sorry,
Okay,
my apologies.
no, it was just a.
Good technique.
The deputy clerk is keeping one.
good job, because you're past the resolution.
Thank you for correcting me. So item number 14.4 is the intersection of County Road 30, County Road 7, and Highway 60. We have a resolution that council directs staff to send a letter to the Ontario Minister of Transportation, Caroline Mulroney, MPP John Yakubuski, and the County of Brantford. Is there a report with that?
No, we have not done a report. I'm presently working on a draft letter and just new information today. I have a meeting with the executive director of the conference of Pick-Waukon, and this is of great importance to them too. So that'll be part of our
And I gotta move in a second.
This one, County Road 7, is that the road coming up in reserve?
Yes,
Okay.
moved by Councilor Robinson, seconded by Councilor Burns. And I asked that staff send a letter because it was a year ago that the county sent a letter to MTO and Caroline Mulroney responded saying that they were going to do another study at that intersection. And there's been no word since whether the study's been done or what, how far along it might be. So I just would like to follow up and see what's happened. Councillor Burton and
What
Councillor
about
Hudson.
you?
I think we should include in the resolution itself what the subject of the letter is. Because it's not listed in the actual resolution. So it's
So
not
I just regarding the intersection and
That's my recommendation.
so Councillor Burton.
I just have one question for Andrew there, the speed sign that was in Anthony Goldman, was that the county sign or was that ours?
That was the county.
Well, I had some residents, they said they really did show the people haven't come in Goldman. When it was there.
We find that those signs do have potential.
Now, I did see it there once and I didn't look at it that close, but they said there was a sign there.
Yes.
And I didn't look at it when I went by, and I thought it was ours, but then I heard it was a county. But the people living on that end of Goldman said it made a difference, and the sign was there. It slowed people down. So it might be as well, we can put ours there sometime if we have.
The county put theirs there and they send all the data that they collect on the traffic speeds and the times of day and so on to the police so that they have an idea then when the most infractions are happening.
It didn't make a difference on the speed people coming into the.
So I'll call the vote on this. Councillor Burns,
Yes.
Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Robinson,
Yes,
Councillor Recchi,
Yes,
and yes, it's very good. So we are now at a closed session. We have a resolution of council in closed session on one proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. And one item is advice subject to solicitor client privilege. And then over second, moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Burch. We will go into closed at 8:24 p.m. Councillor Burch.
Yes.
Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Robinson,
yes.
Councillor Recchi.
yes.
Oh, yes, that's carried.
Michelle,
Brings us to our coming out of closed at 9:15 p.m. And we're going to move in a second. Moved by Councillor Buckwell, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Councillor Burke,
Yes.
Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
Councillor Recchi.
yes.
Yes, that's carried. Thank you. We need a minute for, okay. So I have a resolution that council accepts the report and directs the CAO and clerk treasurer to proceed with the actions as listed in the report. And we'll get a second, moved by Councillor Burns, seconded by Councillor Buckwell. Councillor Burns,
Yes.
Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
Councillor Recchi.
Yes,
And yes, it's carried. Thank you. And I have a resolution, the council agrees to continue to retain the firm of Bradley Law Professional Corporation as the municipal solicitor. And we'll get a second, moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Burke. Councillor Burke,
Yes.
Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
Councillor Recchi.
yes.
Yes, that's carried. Thank you. Have resolution that bylaw 2021-60 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council for October 5th, 2021. Read the first and second time this 5th day of October 2021. Can have been moved and seconded, moved by Councillor Buckwell, seconded by Councillor Recchi. Councillor Burns,
Yes.
Councillor Buckwell,
Yes.
Councillor Robinson,
Yes.
Councillor Recchi.
Yes,
And yes, be read the third time and finally passed this 5th day of October 2021. resolution that this regular meeting of council adjourns at 9:17 p.m. and seconded. Moved by Councilor Buckwall, seconded by Councilor Schoenfeld, Councilor Byrd,
Yes.
Councilor Buckwall,
Yes.
Councilor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilor Wright, Schoenfeld,
Yes.
and a yes. Carried. Thank you all very much. That was, good meeting.